Logan here from Dimp Digital, joined by Apps, and we're doing a review this week of Resident Evil 2. Apps, how you doing?
Terrified, but good, thank you.
Yeah, same here in a weird way. I've just been having a chat off air quickly. And, you know, this is the preamble chat that Adcock referred to last time. People don't like us to get into it too quickly, apparently, so conscious of that. But, yeah, I'm too, as probably most regular Dimp listeners know, I don't be playing these sort of games, but I don't mind watching them. So I'm a watcher.
Is there a chance ever that you'll consider playing anything like this?
No. No, I couldn't. I'm trying to think.
Ruled out.
I just can't. We were saying off air, my anxiety levels crank up, I reckon, to about 8 or 9 out of 10 watching these sort of things. Like Outlast at times was awful, but like sometimes I can't. Like I get anxious watching someone else play it. Like honestly, I'd have a heart attack, I reckon, if I couldn't do it. I genuinely don't understand how people can just enjoy these sorts of games. It's like the culture.
It is a strange sensation in that you're not like I played Red Dead Redemption 2 and God of War. Enjoyed those both immensely. There was no scary bits in that, and you just enjoy the game. You enjoy the experience. You enjoy the combat or whatever it is, the story, and you can't really just sit down and relax with a survival horror, but there's just something about it that kind of draws me in. Like it taps into like this primal, I guess, state of mind that you can't really access unless you're going through an experience like this, like a survival instinct, I guess, like a reptile part of your brain where you're just like, I've just got to get through this and survive. So it's like this weird drug that is going to really hurt you, like heart rate and anxiety and things like that, but there's a strange draw to it where I get a little bit addicted and have to keep going back to it. And I'm obviously very relieved once it's over, but there is a certain strange pull to it, and I can't exactly explain why I would put myself through it sometimes.
It does make me question my state of mind, because I think if I can't... The thing is, for me, I just go, I don't know why I'd put myself through that. Like, literally, it's like volunteering for torture. It's like, if I got tortured, I'd try and deal with it, but I ain't volunteering for that. Like, and that's the way I see watching horror films or horror games. I'm just like, you're literally subjecting yourself to this anxiety and stress, and I just think, I've got enough of that stress at work. I don't want it in my spare time as well. But I can understand it, because otherwise, why am I sitting here watching someone else do it on a stream? So there must be something there.
Yeah, there is an attraction to it. It's a strange sensation, like I said. It's whether you're watching or playing, to put your state of mind through that, you'd think on the surface is an odd thing to do, but there's definitely something there that hooks people. That's why horror films and games are popular in that sense, that it just does something that no other experience can rectify unless you go through it in real life, which God forbid we never have to.
I wouldn't last 5 minutes, honestly. A situation like that, I'd literally have to rely on you to sort me out. I would be an absolute burden. Honestly, I'd be like Glenn, the original Glenn from The Walking Dead or something at the start. Be useless.
Yeah.
But I guess that kind of leads us nicely into it. I mean, I knew you were a Resi fan. I think you've always been a fan of this franchise, haven't you?
Well, the cards on the table themselves means that I've actually only completed one Resident Evil game. So we've had 7 mainline entries, number of spin-offs, now a remake. My only actual playing experience, as in completing one, finishing or clocking one from start to finish, was a co-op experience with our gaming quiz winner of 2018, Adcock. We played through Resident Evil 6 many years ago when that came out, and I must admit that was a bit of a disgrace, really. I think we both agreed it wasn't a very good game at the end of it. It was a real misstep for Capcom and for the franchise, so that wasn't great. Over Christmas, I tried to play the Resident Evil remake HD remaster version on PlayStation 4. I played about 4 hours and I had to bin it. And
what's that? Out of fear?
No, not out of fear. I mean, one thing I will say before I slag it a little bit was it's a very old game. Like the remake, I think, was made in 2002 or 2003, so it's very old still. But it still carries an atmosphere, which was incredible. I really was like, oh, I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this mansion. I'm feeling this setting, which I didn't think a game that old could do. So I'll give it its dues there. But it was just, it's so difficult to play. Like the fixed cameras, I can deal with fixed cameras for the most part, but the shit tank controls I can't deal with. I don't care. I know it's nostalgia and people love things that are old and whatnot, but I didn't have an experience playing when I grew up. So when you sit down and play that at the back end of 2018 or early 2019, you go, what is this garbage?
Just feels dated rather than nostalgic.
Absolutely. So you got that, which wasn't helpful. Woeful voiceover and performance. So that was, again, diabolical. And I'm coming from the background where Metal Gear Solid was... it's
what's that noise?
It's probably my favourite game of all time. But, that has its flaws in it. But that, in terms of voiceover, like if you actually watch the cutscenes, they hold up nowadays. There's good performances in there. And then the last pile of crap that kind of got on my nerves was having to backtrack a lot in that game. Probably because I didn't know where I was going. Okay, fair point. But each time you go for a fucking door, it loads. Shows that bloody door opening. I was like, I just can't. In 2019, I can't be dealing with that. And I think someone who didn't catch that at its peak, in the 90s, would have a similar opinion, unless you've got a real fondness for old games. It's a shame that I couldn't enjoy it, because I do appreciate and respect what it was and kind of what it did for survival horror at the time. So if we ever get this, this infamous, non-existing Dimp Digital Hall of Fame running, I'll certainly be up for voting for it, because I understand the impact it had and I can see why it was so successful back in the day. But nowadays, I just can't reset and go back to that stage. So more recently, I've got Resident Evil 6 that I've played. Didn't play Resident Evil 7, which was a real... That's a black mark against me. I should have done that, because
I thought you had played that.
No, I hadn't.
Right.
Adcock's got it, and I've been meaning to borrow it off him. But I thought with Resi 2 coming out, I'll wait till I've done that. And then I was like, I kind of need something a bit more uplifting before I go back into the depths of hell again. I can't live in this state of mind properly.
That's very dark as well. I've watched a playthrough of 7, and it is super energy and happiness sapping.
Yeah, I bet. And so more recently, I've been playing games like The Evil Within, Outlast. Not recently, but I'm talking about this genre. Sorry, that's survival horror. Outlast, Alien Isolation, Evil Within 2. So I've had an interest in this modern kind of survival horror resurgence that we're seeing with those games. Like Evil Within 2, I think is a really good game, and underrated and undersold, unfortunately, but that's a good survival horror game and a good game to play if you've got a fleeting interest. So I've been playing stuff outside of Resident Evil and building a kind of portfolio of these horror games, and obviously with Outlast and Alien Isolation, they're first person, so they bring a completely different dynamic to it. But the thing about Resident Evil 2, like this remake, is I actually thought this was going to be a complete and utter shambles. I had little to no interest in it really when it was first announced. I was like, Jesus, what are they scraping the bottom of the barrel there, aren't they? Trying to remake that. But as soon as I saw like the proper reveal of it at E3 2018, I was almost instantly sold. I think on the podcast, when me and Adkins reviewed it, I kind of said that was my one highlighting moment. That's what stuck with me at E3. Out of all the amazing stuff that we saw, Resident Evil 2's remake was top. So I was hyped. I was ready to play this. I got it on Xbox One X. I haven't played the original, so what I talk about in this isn't going to be like, oh, the original was like this and this is like that. I haven't got that perspective. This is someone who's not played it, who's been playing some other games around it, and has got an interest in this genre, really.
Interesting. So I've known you for what, probably over 20 years, really. And I thought you'd been sniffing around these. I thought you were a big Resi fan, but
been sniffing and been like a fan from a distance, if you will. Never kind of, because you know what it is. It's like I played Resident Evil 6 because it was co-op and Adcock had got it, and I thought, what's the harm in playing that? It'd be fun regardless if we played together. It nearly wasn't fun playing with someone else, which is a whole separate point. But it's like a thing where you go, that was the 6th entry, and it's an ongoing story with characters, and I just thought, you know what? How can I even begin to get involved with this and understand what's going on? And the good thing I hear about Resident Evil 7 is that you don't really need to have much base knowledge. It's got some throwbacks, it's got some links in there, but it's not based on the main story. So really, it's one of those things that I'd looked at and had an appreciation for over the years, but never really gone through and played properly. Like, I'd played about 4 hours of 4 and never quite got through it and stopped for whatever reason. So I have an appreciation, but not been, physically been hands-on with Resident Evil.
Yeah, and I'm going to take it was you were excited about it, but probably relatively unhyped, should I say, until that demo come out.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, again, it's one of those things. You see something and immediately you go, "That looks amazing," but I know that things don't always play well. And then when they released this demo, I thought, let's get hands on this and see how it plays. And then as soon as I picked the controller and fired my first bullet and shot my first zombie, I was like, this is looking and playing very good. I was really annoyed the demo was half an hour only and then it kicks you out. I was so angry because I wanted to play it more.
Yeah.
So I was really pissed off with Capcom they did that. But all it did was just make me, want it more. So playing it definitely just sealed the deal. I was probably about 80% there, but I was like, right, 100% Marine, day one, Steelbook
pre-order
edition.
done.
Let's go, let's do it, yeah. Let's jump on this train now. Resident Evil 2 2019.
There you go. Interesting that we've done what's probably about a 10-minute intro there, but worth it, I reckon.
Well, the thing about our reviews is they're not like 10-minute reviews. Now they go to like half hour because we just discuss things. And
the detail, important, rich backstory.
It all adds to it.
So, in terms of the story then, what do you think about it? Is it kind of a bit arbitrary, or you know?
So, I mean, story-wise, I think the quality of the story is good. It's a little bit hokey. It's a little bit cheesy. It's ridiculous sometimes. But it does have its moments. And most importantly, it's well delivered. So that to me means more than what the content of the story is sometimes. Like, it's not terrible, but it's not going to be winning any Oscars for that sort of story that's there. But I like the fact they kind of build the lore around it and you kind of get a real good understanding of just how dire the city has got to if you make the effort to read the notes and things like that. So you can find these letters and notes that are scattered around, and there are some real disturbing and horrifying situations that people have got themselves snarled up in as the city has gone to shit. And I think that really kind of fleshes it out. But, the story itself is definitely serviceable. We're not talking Red Dead levels or God of War levels of narrative here, but we're talking about a well-polished story that is, makes sense. It's a little bit over the top here and there, but I think you get away with that in this sort of setting. But I did want to speak about the campaigns because I think there's going to be a little bit of confusion for people around how the campaigns work. So, stories there, fine. You take control of 2 characters you can choose from. You can choose Leon Kennedy or Claire Redfield. They're both heading into Raccoon City. They don't know that the city's gone to shit and there's like a zombie infestation going on. Their paths cross on the way there. They're then split up. And as soon as they kind of both realise there's no hope of doing what they was planning to do, it's like, right, let's get the hell out of Dodge and try and live through this. So at the start, each character has their own campaign. And the story between both of them is quite different. Like, you meet different people. You have a unique narrative in that sense. Like, you meet completely separate characters in both campaigns. And you have different weapons and other different loadout items that change the strategy and the gameplay styles. But the locations and the puzzles are virtually identical, apart from a handful of rooms and other little areas. So you kind of think, well, actually, that's one campaign with two stories almost. It's really weird. But then they introduce this second run, as it's called. So once you finish the campaign with, say, Leon, you unlock second run for Claire. And this is like an abridged version of their campaign. So it starts at the last place the two met, and you pick up from Claire's perspective at that point. So from that situation, she's outside of the police station. There's a fence separating them, so you pick up with Claire there. So I thought, okay, this is great. This is where there's going to be two separate campaigns, lovely jubbly. You get into the police station, the enemy placement is different, the puzzle solutions have changed, and it's cut the beginning of the game off, like almost a quarter of the game, because you've already seen it and played through it, so there's no need to be doing that, which is why it's a bit abridged. So I was thinking, like, perfect. Two separate campaigns, they're going to intertwine, and, you know, they're going to meet at some point, or whatever's going to happen. But this is actually where one of my few gripes are. Despite the shake-ups they do make, again, you still go through the same locations, mostly, and the same objectives, and you fight the same bosses. So, from a lore and from a canon perspective, it just doesn't work, because only one of you can defeat, let's make up a boss. There's a vampire, there's not, but there's a vampire in there. In Leon's playthrough, you kill him, and then in Claire's playthrough, you also kill him. So it's like, okay, which one of them actually happened in the lore? So that's a little bit annoying. I just really wish they'd at least made the scenarios for each of the characters different, so they ran more alongside each other rather than tripping over each other like they do in this. So reusing the same structure, even on a second run feature, is a little bit long in the tooth, and I think it sells that side of things a little bit short. Like, I'm glad the second run is there, because it does cut things down a little bit, so you haven't got to play the full 9-10 hours of the campaign again. But they could have done a much better job of making it unique. And when I originally read there was going to be two campaigns, I thought there would be two separate experiences. But the DNA of them's the same, which is a little bit of a disappointment.
So, is that how you've kind of took it then, rather than as an alternative perspective, rather than an alternative outcome, rather than, I don't know. Obviously, I haven't played it. My cards on the table are I'm 4 hours through a stream, so you know I'm halfway through it. I don't know, but. Can you not take it that way on Claire's one? Can it not be instead of the one you've just done, or is it difficult to erase that? 'Cause you've just done one with Leon, you go back to do it with Claire, and you go, "Well, what are we doing here then?"
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like it's that, like you do this. Like, the first objective is to try and get out of the police station. So as Leon, you do that, and in the second run through, you also do it with Claire, even though Leon's already opened the door. Like, it's that sort of stuff. So together they just don't make sense. Like, it is, like you say, it's an alternative campaign, really. That's the way to look at it. That just follows far too many of the same objective and structure beats for it to be classed as a full second campaign. There's some cool moments that happen in each of them that don't happen in the other, but it's just not enough. Like, just following through the same locations felt a little bit cheap. So I would have liked to have seen two separate campaigns completely, like different locations, different areas, and all that stuff, and it's just not there. So it's still a decent set of content, and it adds an interesting kind of twist on things and encourages you to play it through again, because it is harder typically on the second run feature, but you know, it's still not as separate as you might think if you just read that there's two campaigns there.
No, that's fair enough. I had actually presumed that Claire's was a different half of it, or I didn't realise they were using the same, or what I call Destiny in it, which is doing different missions through the same areas.
Yeah, but it's pretty much that. It's a good way of kind of describing it. Is that sort of structure?
Okay,
just with fucking zombies trying to chew your head off.
Yeah, not ideal.
No.
You haven't got those dregs just shooting mindless bullets at you. So in terms of the game, you know, I think, you know, I know where we're going with it, but it looks and performs pretty well, doesn't it?
It's Resident Evil 2, yeah, looks and as you said, performs brilliantly. I'm really impressed with the visuals. Like the lighting is really good. The technical performance is very good as well. The attention to detail is there. The characters' facial expressions is something I think that is overlooked. Sound design is amazing, and the gore is just disgracefully, despicably good. Like, I'm handing out the award for 2019 best gore in a video game right now to Resident Evil 2. There's no one else to be winning that. That's won that award in 2019. We've just finished the month of January, and Resident Evil 2 has got that award locked down. So that from that viewpoint, it's a beautiful game. Then you've got the physics of the actual zombies they are best in class. Like the way they shamble and stumble and sometimes sort of almost get into a jog to come after you. The way that they collapse when you shoot them is phenomenal. They just kind of ragdoll down and they fall down the stairs realistically. They hit other zombies. And I'm giving out another award. Best zombies in a video game ever, Resident Evil 2. They are so good. So good. You can blow their heads off. You can shoot their arms off. You can even shoot their legs off and then they'll fall to the ground and start crawling. You can then shoot their other leg off to stop them crawling. They'll still use their arms. You can then shoot both their arms off and then they're just a torso trying to fucking get at you. And throughout all this, they react and fall and stumble and die as you'd expect. It's really amazing. So those things kind of stirred up create this really chilling and claustrophobic atmosphere. Like you can almost feel, especially with headset on, you can almost feel like the rain when you go outside. You can almost feel the chill of a broken window when you see like the paper flapping around that's been boarding it up. So I'm just really surprised at how much effort they've put into the production of this. Like it's top-notch stuff for video games, and Capcom have done themselves proud here. There's one issue I did have, and that was a save issue. I went to save over a slot, and it just hung in the saving screen. And the cardinal rule is when that symbol's up saving, don't turn your console off. But after 4 or 5 minutes, I thought I can't be sitting here waiting for this, so I switched it off. Switched it back on. The save didn't actually work, but there was no corruption. And I'd saved a few minutes before. I just was resaving for some item configuration, so I didn't actually lose any progress. But I just wanted to mention that on there. It's possible the Xbox One X crapped the bed, because I'm not going to say that's been flawless lately. Like I could barely get on, was it Wednesday night, because of having fucking network issues. But I always want to call it out if I have a crash or a problem in a game. I'll call it out on here. So that's just something on the performance side. Maybe just make 2 save slots in case you corrupt one. I don't know. It didn't corrupt, but I could see how it might do.
It's not a common problem, is it, in 2019 that you get any more? It's a really odd one.
No, instead it was only once, but it happened, and that's got to be called out in my view.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. As I say, I haven't got a headset on. I'm watching it largely on an iPad, sometimes on the big TV or whatever. But it does seem to me to be a very atmospheric game. Like it's one of the things that made me laugh at one point was there's a lot of obviously some stairs, and a zombie just fell over a balcony and just fell onto the floor. And when weirdly, the thud from it was just so. You felt the impact on an iPad, and I was just like, "Cry me!" It is really well done, as I say. They're textbook zombies. Yeah, I cannot criticise anything. I think the only thing that I've seen sometimes is I think, right, how many bullets are you going to be taking in that head?
Yeah, they take a beating to put down, but I kind of like that because it's designed to, tax you on your resources, tax you on your ammo.
Yeah.
Like you've got to be accurate and you've got to be thorough, because you can. The way I kind of worked out is you put 3 bullets in the head, not always, but generally they'll go down.
Yeah.
But they will get back up after 3, so you can either make the choice to put them down, walk past them and deal with them later, or try and finish them off on the floor. And I kind of like as well, with the pistol especially, there's like a random chance that you'll get a critical hit and it will explode the head. And that when that happens, when you're under the cosh and suddenly you get just 2 or 3 of those, it makes the world of difference.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, with the ammo and the guns, you can upgrade guns. Get a shotgun, for example. If you get that right in the head, that's an insta kill for the zombies each time. But yeah, they do take a beating. But I quite like the fact that you're never quite sure if they are dead or not.
Yeah,
when you're wondering, because the bodies stay there as well. The bodies don't disappear.
No, they don't despawn.
They will stay there for the entirety of the game. You think, right, I can't remember what I did to that one now. Is he dead? Walk past it and you're fine. And the second time, he might not be. So I like it keeps you on your toes like that.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point earlier on one of the previous things where you said you can take off their arms and legs, or you can.
Yes.
And it's like, because you're constantly concerned about how much ammo you've got, and the fact that shooting them in the head, as you've alluded to, isn't necessarily the most effective way, weirdly, of dealing with them.
No.
Like the guy that I'm watching stream is basically like shooting them in the leg and just letting them scrabble around on the floor, because it's like they're literally, it's better for ammo, and he's just like, I could shoot him 10 times in the head and he still might not be dead, so what's the point? But it's exactly that. None of them despawn. You come back, you go, he's still there, scrabbling around on the floor.
Exactly.
So that brings us on quite nicely to moving around the map and the story. How do you progress in this game? What's the idea? It's linear, but a lot of faffing.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll call it faffing, but yeah, it's a linear style game. Also, it's not fixed camera. This is over the shoulder, third person, 2019 jobby, so no fixed cameras, unless you select hardcore mode, I think it's called. Then the game has auto saves, and you can save manually as much as you want, providing you're at a safe room that's got a typewriter. But if you put hardcore mode on, it turns off auto saving, and you only get a number of certain ink ribbons. So it's like a throwback to the original. You can only save when you've got an ink ribbon. And I think on the original, like the first Resident Evil, there was like 20 of them throughout the game, so you had to be careful what you did with them. So you couldn't just constantly like save scum. So that's there if you really want the OG experience, but I would recommend just putting it on normal and trying to enjoy it as much as you can. You don't want to be worrying about saving and having to redo stuff with this, because it's fucking hard enough to only get through it once. So you don't want to die and lose a shitload of progress because you didn't have enough ink ribbons. It'll drive you fucking up the wall. But yeah, it's the game's set in a number of locations, but you start in the police station, which happened to be a museum many moons ago. So that's why it's not like a conventional sterile station. There's all sorts of weird ornaments, statues, mechanisms that you wouldn't find in it. I think it's their way of trying to tie in some of the puzzles. But, I quite like they've at least tried to do that. So when you start, you've probably only got access to 2 rooms. Then you find an item and you can access a 3rd room. Then you might find a key, and now you can access 5 rooms, and you've got a shortcut back to the main room. So as you progress, as you solve the puzzles, which I must say, throughout the game, I enjoyed. I'm not the biggest puzzle fan, but I love the fact there's a great deal of variety there. Not a lot of repeating puzzles, and they were enjoyable. I liked the variety they put in there, so kudos there. But yeah, as you solve the puzzles, you find items, you open up more of the station and start working towards kind of trying to escape and get out. And the level design of not just the police station but other locations as well, I think is great. Like, it's not quite as good as something like Bloodborne, which I think level and world design is superb, some of the best for a game that you've got to work through and perhaps reroute around the same areas, but it's in that league. And I think it's really clever how they've crafted these locations, force you to be on your toes. You've got to pay attention, keep your wits about you, and of course it's riddled with zombies and other enemies, so you've got to be worrying about them too. And there's things in your favour that you can use, and certain mechanics, like you can pick up wooden boards and you can board up the windows, which will stop zombies coming. They can't break through that. So that's a cool little feature, but it's also one of those features where there's not enough boards for windows, so you've got to really be strategic about which windows you board up and which ones you don't. If you're thorough with your searching, you can find ammo, extra ammo, upgrades for your weapons, new weapons, hip pouch upgrades which increase your inventory space. That is absolutely vital. You might find a code for a locker that's locked scribbled on a wall somewhere. You might find it in a document. It's all got these different little scenarios that you might find as you explore the locations. So it's a constant risk versus reward where you want to try and get as much as possible, but you don't want to get snarled up and put yourself in bother where you've cost yourself vital health and ammo items. So it's really, really finely balanced. But you've got a problem. And I don't mean a problem with the game. I mean a crapped in trousers, anxiety inducing, intense problem. And the problem is called, I don't know if this is real now, I think this is a fan name, is Mr. X. And the guys that have been playing it in the Dimp land, so Adkins, Adcock, and now Biff, we've dubbed him with a new name called That Cunt. He is terrifying, that cunt. A man-mounting, hulking fuck who is relentless in his pursuit of you. Now, you can stagger him, so you can shoot him in the head and sort of stun him slightly. If you do enough damage, you'll bring him down to a knee, but you cannot kill him. And he's lurking throughout the campaign to make your life hell. And I say this with a positive spin because he really does rack up the scares, the tension, and the uneasiness. Just you start getting used to the environment of the police station or the environment of another area, he turns up and everything's panic stations. And the key thing about him is that he's not been unfairly designed. Other than like a few scripted moments where he rocks up for whatever, he doesn't like automatically know where you are. Like you can avoid him. It's hard, but it's possible if you take your time and you're careful. And it seems like he's attracted to noise. So if you think you've got rid of him for a while and you think, right, I'll start wandering around doing what I need to do. But if you trip over some enemies and start shooting and engaging with them, it won't be long before you hear those thumping fucking footsteps steaming round. And you know shit's about to go down. Like it's like, I don't know if you had it when you was young. It's like that feeling when you was upstairs in your room and you knew you'd done something wrong, and then you heard like your dad's footsteps coming up the fucking stairs.
You go, oh fuck now.
It's that feeling when you hear his clubbing footsteps steaming around those hallways, and then you see him come around the corner, and you're like, fuck! Now I've just got to run the opposite way. You look back and he's so big, like he doesn't fit through the door frame. He like squeezes through the doors, and you're like, oh my god, I need to get rid of this bastard. But he's a real, for lack of a better term, an X factor during the campaign. And yes, very difficult to deal with and gut wrenching to try and get around and do your business. But a very, very good addition, I think.
Yeah, he's bothering me. I had to ask you and go, is he going to be there for the rest of it? And you went, well,
he's Mr. X.
Mr. X is lurking.
Yeah, and it's just that, and it's that really just adds an extra layer on. It would have been fine without it. It would have been a good game without him, but having him just as a constant threat or a potential constant threat is enough just to keep you humble. Don't get cocky, because if he turns up, you ain't going to win if you go one-on-one with him. So be sure to have an exit route whenever you're doing anything in that game, because you can get right snarled up with him and other enemies. You can get in some awful situations and have yourself absolutely scrambling.
Yeah, it's strange because, as I say, I don't play these games, but I do watch them periodically because it's the only way I can get that experience where my body and brain can cope with it. But it's odd to have something like that where it's just lurking like constantly. Yeah. Like normally in some of these games you get a bit of a respite for a little while, but as you say, really he's always there. You lose him periodically by the looks of it, but as soon as it's not long at all, really. Sort of minutes, I reckon, isn't it, really, before he's back lurking, before you've got yourself in trouble again. So yeah, it's it seemed, I thought it was broken. I was like, it's not, like, I thought the guy who was playing it, I was like saying he's not dealing with him, or saying surely that is like gameplay logic to me says he needs dealing with, but
kill him and then you ain't got to worry about him. But
but apparently not. Like normally you drill them and then they just disappear for a bit, didn't they? And you get on with it and you see them later on. But
it's like it's not dissimilar to Alien Isolation. Right. Like that you deal with one xenomorph throughout most of the game, and you can't kill that It's always lurking. It's very similar in that aspect that the xenomorph can pop up it feels like can pop up at any time, and isn't really scripted. He just kind of hunts and looks around. So sometimes it drops in and it might go left, and you think, right, I can go right and get what I need to do. Then the second time it might go right. So there's no just kind of. I think that cunt, or Mr. X as he's named by other fans, has that similar sort of design where you don't really quite know what he's going to do unless he sees you, in which case he's going to follow you for as long as he can, and he'll put you down if you don't get out of his way, so avoid.
There you go. So we've already sort of touched on the controls and it being more modern, but in terms of how you felt the game stacked up, does it feel like it's they're not harking back to anything from the original game?
No, thank God it's good combat, good movement. It's a blast. So another tick in the box. Yeah, they're not going back to tank controls or anything awkward. Moving around with Leon or Claire is great. No weird controls, no weird animations that are there to probably as a restriction of the time, but in some cases for modern games they put shitty controls in to cheaply make the game harder or scarier. So that's not here. It's modern, it's slick, and it's satisfying. So well done again, Capcom, on that front. You have to manage your inventory, which does offer its own headaches and is a little bit of a throwback, because you simply just can't carry unlimited amount of stuff. So you kind of have to make those difficult choices between carrying more ammo or more health. So you have those decisions to make. You can store all of your items in item boxes, meaning you don't have to drop or discard things. So that's a feature that is welcome, because it would be a pain having to lose things indefinitely or forever. I think one thing that actually, or a couple of things that are going to be overlooked and may have been present in other games, but I think in this they make it really clear. Like when you get a key, like it's got a certain shape, it might have a club on it, for example. That'll open all club doors. And once you've finished opening all the doors for that, you can discard the item, and there's actually a little tick that comes up on the item knowing that it's got no more use. So rather than constantly hanging on to it thinking, Christ, I don't know when I'm going to need that key again, as soon as you see that tick, okay, I can get rid of it and get it out of my inventory. You haven't got to worry about it. And to back that up and to make that even better, the map is an underrated gem. It's really very, very useful. So once you enter a room, it will show as red, meaning there's items still in that room. So if you want to get all those valuable supplies or and get the ammo or whatever's in there, then you can keep searching. You know that room's not cleared, for lack of a better term. And if you go to try and open a door, again, it will show you whether it's chained up or whether it needs a certain key. And rather than you even just remember that door's chained up or that door needs a key, when you come away from it and go to the map, it will show on the as an icon, so you can see whether it's a chained up door, whether it requires a spade key or a club key or whatever key it is. And that means that you haven't got to try and use your brain to remember and flap about later on. It sounds really basic and really simple, but there's a lot of games that don't do things like that for you as a player, especially in like this genre, because they want to make things as hard as possible. But in a game with such complex level design and how modern it feels, it's a lifesaver. It's really, really two good features that I wanted to call out.
From what I've seen, the guy that I'm watching, he's got it on, and I'm just like, that is, like, you just know, there's no doubt then, because by the looks of it in Resi games, from what I've seen before, you get to a point where it's like, right, I'm just going to have to keep exploring or keep looking around until I finally stumble across what I need. And that makes it a lot simpler here, because you can go to the map and just go, right, I don't need to go there, but I need to go over here. It takes a lot of that stress away, I think.
In fairness to like the Resident Evil remake that I played and didn't finish in the end, that had a similar map design where the room would show red if there's something still in there that you hadn't done.
Right.
But I guess the kicker with this one is it shows you the status of the door, whether it's locked and why it's locked, and also if there's items that you can't pick up, i.e. your inventory's full, it will show those icons in the room, so you know to go back and say, oh, hang on, there's some gunpowder in there, I need to craft some bullets, and you know you can go to that room and get some. Again, another little mechanic. you can craft bullets and put things together and add attachments to your guns and make yourself more powerful in that way. So, yeah, there's some smaller, quality of life things they've got here in Resident Evil 2 that are great, because the easy thing would be to make it as archaic and as difficult as possible to play so that the game was scarier, and they haven't done the cheap stuff. They've really made the game quality to play and kept it very, very scary at the same time.
Yeah, so it's all positive stuff. Well, depends what you want, but I suppose from a survival horror game, it's positive. Not for me if I wanted to play it, but I guess that kind of links through. We talked about all the good stuff. I've kind of got in my head where I think you're going to place this, but put us all out of misery. What is the Dimp official grading for this game?
Well, I think Resident Evil 2 is great. Like, I think Capcom have almost outdone themselves. I don't know why. I don't know why I doubted it. Playing it, I think, how could I doubt this? But I'm still a little bit surprised at the amount of love and care that's gone into this, and I'm blown away by the quality of Resident Evil 2. I hope off the back of this they consider remaking 3 and also remaking 1 again, because I think they've got a really strong framework here to make that trilogy something relevant again, like, and something different and something good. I can't believe that even the likes of Biff are enjoying this, because I kind of suggested it to him thinking he might enjoy it, but he doesn't tend to like these type of games, but he's been hooked on it as well. And yeah, Resident Evil 2 has kicked off 2019 with a bang. For that reason, Resident Evil 2 earns itself a 9 out of 10 gold seal of approval from Dimp Digital. And my biggest praise, and I'll save this to the last, my biggest praise for Resident Evil 2 is that it's not just a great survival horror game, it's a great video game outside of that that's been produced and crafted to a very, very high standard. And if you're brave and have just a fleeting interest in Resident Evil 2, do not sleep on it. Go out there and get it. It's fantastic.
Well, if Bollockless Biff is enjoying it, then there you go.
The Bollockless brothers.
Yeah. For anyone that doesn't know, the Bollockless brothers are me and Biff. I mean, to be fair to him, he is better at me than the scary stuff. At least he did the kitchen demo and stuff like that. But, I am surprised he picked it up, and as you say, he's also. I use enjoying it lightly, but I think he is, and I think, you know, as you say, it's a different sort of enjoyment you get out of this game. Yeah. It's a bit of a sadomasochistic enjoyment, I think, but I am enjoying watching it. Weirdly, I found when I watched Resi 7, I found that quite unsettling. But I'm watching this one's unsettling in a different kind of way. But as I say, the fact that I'm 4 hours into somebody else playing it, I don't often sit here and watch a game as much as I have for this one. So as you say, it's something there that makes it fascinating to play and watch. You know. Yeah.
It's great. It's a real gem, I think, and it's one that I might even consider playing through, the campaigns multiple times. Maybe do some challenges or something like that. It's got that kind of appeal to it, and they've announced they're going to be releasing some free DLCs, like free small stories around, I think, characters that you meet or mentioned in notes or whatever during the playthrough. So I'm definitely coming back for that. When you've completed one campaign, then also a second run campaign unlocks a challenge mode where you take control of Hunk, who's like this legendary soldier, and you have to just try and escape with no extra bullets or anything like that. You have like equipment, so you can play through that. And it's just stuff to keep the game relevant and keeping it ticking over. I really have enjoyed playing Resident Evil 2, and I look forward to playing more of it if they release it. If they ever do paid DLC, I'm down for that. I think if it's I've done it with Spider-Man and enjoyed that, so why not? Let's do let's do some Resident Evil 2 paid DLC. I'm definitely down for that.
Interesting. So to sign this off, then, in conclusion, the Resi from afar fan has become an even bigger Resi fan up close.
Well, if it's modern, I'll be getting on it. If they carry on like this, and I know 7 I'm going to enjoy when I finally get the time and the place to play it. I know I'm going to enjoy that as well. So they've really kicked on from 6. Like 6, it was in some places, Logan, it was unspeakably bad. Like it wasn't even. There was no. You could play it. It was not scary at all. There was no scares in it. It was all shit combat, shit action, shit set pieces. It was just a mess. And Adcock, bless him, he's like the Resident Evil fan. He's played all of them from day one. Like from back in the day, he started playing them. Remake of 1 is like one of his favourite games of all time. And even he was pretty disgusted and disappointed with 6. Like he said last that this was not very good, and he knew that was my first kind of proper playthrough of like a Resident Evil game from start to finish. And I think he was a little bit embarrassed because he thought, well, I've told him how good this series is, and then
bit of disappointment awaited.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to do in the future, not next week, it'll be a few weeks down the line, is catch up with Adcock about Resident Evil 2 to get his thoughts, because he has played the originals and he's got fond nostalgic memories of the old style. So I'm really interested to see his thoughts on how this brand new remake holds up, and whether it does the original justice, whether it shits on it. I mean, you can see the other review scores out there. It's been positive pretty much across the board. So be interesting to hear what an avid fan of from day one thinks about Resident Evil 2 in 2019.
Yeah, I'd definitely be down to hear that. I think from what I've read so far and seen, it is at heart, it's still a Resi game. It's still got all those features, the herbs, or everything about it, but it's been brought into 2019. It's been modernised, and as you say, that's what makes it so playable. By the sounds of it, is the fact that you've got that nostalgic piece to it, that it's classic Resident Evil, but at the same time, you've got all the mechanics, the noises, the graphics from 2019. Yeah, so
absolutely,
evidently combined, that makes a good survival horror game.
It certainly does.
There you go. Well, we'll let everyone go. We could sit here, no doubt, waffling all day about it. But thanks for that, Apps. It was very good. And
cheers.
Nothing left for me to say other than thanks for your time. And ta-da.